Figures released today show that 1 in 20 GP appointments in England during August were carried out over video or online. The highest proportion of non-face-to-face appointments since records began.
And, of course, that makes some patients very concerned that their care is being compromised because they're not being seen in the surgery. Is it time to make a face-to-face appointment mandatory? Here's what you had to say about online appointments.
I think it's a good idea. At least then you're not having to wait a few weeks to see somebody.
There's certain reasons why they should be seeing people, but I mean, I suppose you have to try and vet that on the online service.
I'm quite happy with an online appointment. It depends what it's for.
I think it depends on the circumstances, i.e. what your issue is. So sometimes I don't want to see a GP face-to-face. I think it's a quick fix, maybe a prescription for something.
Joining us now to discuss this is actress Debbie Arnold, who thinks losing in-person appointments is dangerous. Absolutely. And NHS GP and digital health entrepreneur Dr. Murray Ellender, who says we should let those who want online appointments have them. And Debbie, first of all, you had a tough time in COVID. You had a face-to-face appointment.
Yes.
But you're saying that if it had been online, it wouldn't have worked for you. But you're saying that's true of everybody.
Well, yes, of course it is. Because what can you see? When you're online, you actually talk to somebody on a camera. It's like, you know, internet dating, if you like. But if you've got something, you don't want someone, you know, like a lump or a sore throat or a breathing problem, how on earth can that be diagnosed when you're not actually in the room with someone? And also, you want someone to be empathetic, don't you? They can see different things when you're there that you can't.
But you did manage to get a face-to-face
Yes,
appointment.
my doctor is absolutely fantastic, and he did see me, but he had to feel my tummy and stuff like that. And if that would have been online, then I wouldn't have been seen, and something bad could have happened to me.
OK, Dr. Ellender, the fear is, as Debbie says, that not everybody would have that conversation with their GP where they say, I really have to insist I need to see you in person. And they'll be fobbed off with an online appointment. And things get missed because you might think your symptom is one thing and actually it's being caused by something physical. Unless the GP feels it, looks at it, finds it, you're going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what a GP, the diagnosis is reached through taking a history, through asking questions of the patient. And from that, you can then understand, do I need to examine this patient or not? And a lot of care can be delivered without necessarily laying hands on. Now, something like abdominal pain or something, you know, with the stomach, you are going to have to examine that patient. So I'm not saying all patients should be seen online, but there's definitely a huge cohort that can be seen online. And you saw from some of those patients that you just interviewed, a lot of patients actually like that ability to
But the thing is that you've got to fill out an online form, and I think that's really embarrassing. Can you imagine, you know, something really, really personal, and you think, you know, the receptionist has seen it, all these people have seen it, so where is privacy when you have to write out your symptoms to somebody? I think that's terrible.
Well, yeah, and I disagree entirely there. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of times now when you ring the GP receptionist, they'll direct you, go online, complete an e-consult, answer a series of questions about your condition. That's hugely useful to the receiving doctor because actually you've then got all that information up front and you can decide, well, actually, does this patient need to come in or can they be managed remotely?
OK, but I think Debbie's point is you say it's very straightforward, that's how we work now. The point is there's a lot of people who would find divulging that information to who knows who...
Exactly.
...the reception team, other people who are looking online, whereas actually what they want is they want to phone reception and simply ask for an appointment face-to-face, and then they can say personally to their GP, the one person they might trust with very intimate information, in the room.
So just to reassure people, actually that information is only seen by the receiving GP. So it's very easy to... The information you capture online is then put in front of the GP, or actually often it might be that you've got back pain and that's better suited to see a physio. And actually, we found a lot of patients feel more comfortable divulging information. You know, they've got more time.
But what happens when you're an old person as well, that you can't go online, you can't fill out one of these forms? I mean, you know, it must be terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying that people can't do their own banking anymore. You know, they can't go to the bank, but not being able to go to the doctors. And that's what you really need, you know. And also, when you walk in, sometimes you might be not breathing very well, so your own doctor can actually see, well, there's actually something wrong, worse.
So I don't think
possibly than you
it's fair to discriminate against elderly people. I mean, clearly some people are not happy online, but actually the fastest growing use in the internet is actually amongst elderly population. And patients often prefer, if you think about that kind of 10-minute appointment, it's hugely rushed. Whereas actually, if you've got the time at home to sit and answer a series of questions about your condition in your own time, patients often have more, it's more comfortable, it's easier to kind of sit there.
Dr. Ellender, though, see, I am worried about this. I'm somebody who's had online appointments. I love them. I can do it from my computer or on the phone. Great when the GP rings me. It's so much faster. So I'm not against online appointments at all. But I do know that for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s who may not want to go to the GP, quite often there's quite a lot of detective work. You have to work out why they've really come because they're not revealing it. And if I'm somebody who's been nagged to go and I'm not quite sure I quite want to admit it, I can then do it online, I can disguise it. Isn't it easier for men to avoid facing up to reality online than when you're actually face-to-face?
And a lot of people, it's not just men, I think it's a lot of people.
But especially men.
Well, especially
later middle-aged men.
But can you imagine, they ask you to send you a picture. Can you imagine if you had to send certain pictures of certain places, or even online, you know, you can imagine, I've got something wrong, you know, hold on, let me just get the Zoom camera.
Done it, very embarrassing.
But I think if you think back to the old system where we made everyone come in and sit in front of us, and you'd ring the GP at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you'd be in a queue, and they'd eventually book you an appointment 4 weeks later, that actually discourages patients from seeking care. So actually, you'd be nagged as a 50-year-old man to go and see the GP. You try, and actually it's 6 weeks. You don't bother.
But there are times, aren't there, when you need to see somebody
Absolutely.
face-to-face to find out what's really gone. How do you know those moments if it's happening on the phone or online? How do you know to get them in?
GPs are highly trained. We're trained for, 5 years at medical, 7, 8 years to become GPs, and we're trained to pick up symptoms based on the information that's presented to us. And actually, that is just as true if that information comes in remotely.
It's empathy, isn't it, as well? You know, a GP will look at you, you'll feel something that you can't feel when somebody's on camera.
Do you want...
Literally.
Do you... Yeah. In the case of your abdomen.
Yes. Just saying.
Do you want every appointment to be mandatory in person? Or do you want the option so that if you say...
Yeah.
I don't want to do online.
Yeah.
That's all you're offering me.
Yeah.
I demand an in-person as my right.
As my right. I think that should be your right to actually demand one. And I think the thing is with children as well, you know, you can see people online, things are missed. I know things are missed when you go to the surgery, but I think it's more likely to be missed online.
But you're not going to stop me having my online one?
No, of course not.
No. And Dr. Ellender, if Debbie rings up and insists...
Yep.
Is it mandatory that you are obliged to give her an appointment?
It's not mandatory, but I think in that circumstance, if you came into our surgery, we'd give that patient an appointment. So I think it should be down to choice. It's not just... So the 1 in 20 stat, 1 in 20, we're not doing enough online. If you think, I'm a bit disappointed that only 1 in 20 are happening online. Actually, if you think about all other industries, so do we want to go back to banks where you had to go into the bank to transact?
I can hear a lot of people going, yes.
Okay, or booking a holiday. A lot of people book holidays online now.
Yeah.
You know, you should, but actually, if you have the choice, you could go into the bank or you could go and book it online. And we should be doing the same in healthcare.
So you disagree that it should be mandatory?
No, you should be able to have a mandatory appointment whenever you want.
You should have a right.
You should have the right
to ask and be delivered.
But we should ask our viewers, have you had occasions where you've asked your GP for a face-to-face appointment because you're really worried and you want to show them something and they say, no, we're only going to do it online, only on the phone, because that, I think, would be the thing which would worry me. If people are being denied that choice.
You've got a phone appointment with a GP she can do by the end of the week, or unfortunately, we just don't.
And sometimes they call you at different times when they say they're going to call you.
And the truth is, you're going in saying you've got a cough, and the reason is because you actually need to kind of say, by the way.
Yeah. There's something else. You know,
that's how it works.
But if we shift
by the way, doctor, just one other thing. That's how it works.
Yes, but if
you never admit it in advance, it's too embarrassing.
If we were to shift more care online, it would free up more time for people to be seen face to face.
So long as they've got the choice.
But we asked you, is it time to make face-to-face appointments mandatory? And 67% said yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry,
Yeah.
I won.
Yeah, well, you won in principle, but the fact of the matter is that it's not on the cards, is it? A mandatory, demanding,
It's a backward
delivering
step. I think it's a backward
appointments.
Very
OK, controversial. Right.
It's nice to see someone in real life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to see you both in real life. Thank you very much.
We're not really here, we're virtual.